Man, I'm doing a lot of videos today. I'm sorry, but I had to talk about this one. You see the description, thoughts slash reactions to Dylan Burns' debate with this person named Redneq on the Ukrainian war. And Jesus Christ, it's probably the most annoying thing I'd had to listen to for a while. Let's get it out of the way. I'm a Dylan Burns fan. I like his content. He's been in, for anyone who doesn't watch him, he is a general left-leaning content creator that streamed on, I believe, Twitch and YouTube, but I think mostly it's just YouTube. And currently he's in Ukraine doing journalism, just reporting the war effort, interviewing different people that are involved on the front lines, support, just helping the city and the population. And the last 4 months, he's dedicated his entire career and life right now to the journalism in Ukraine. And he's been losing money on it. He's not making as much content. He's not collaborating with a bunch of people, doing his hippy dippy roundtable, a bunch of other stuff that he was doing to, sustain himself. So he's losing money on it. He's doing something that's morally, it seems reasonable, even if you don't really care about the war. As a journalist, usually you support it. This dude comes in and immediately is saying, like, first of all, it's a corporate war. I don't know where he get. No, let's say the first thing he actually says. It was that he was like, can we agree that NATO is violating the agreement? And then Dylan says, which agreement are you talking about? Because if you look up, there's no information from the American side that ever says that we agreed to not expand NATO any further towards Russia or the Soviet Union. The only thing that we seemingly agreed about is, from the American side, is that we won't expand into East Germany. That according to some interviews that people have had with Gorbachev, one of the people who was in the room during the discussions between the United States and the Soviet Union and whatnot for their agreements. But no other conversations were had about NATO expanding further, according to U.S. government. According to the Russian government, that they did agree and that they're violating that agreement. I don't know if I would trust the past Russian government. I don't really trust the American government that much, but I will 100% certainty am going to disavow anything that the current Russian government would say. Like they just keep lying about things, and third parties who are uninvolved could have evidence of them lying about things back and forth. Or the politics, policies, agreements. They'll make an agreement with Ukraine, they'll break it immediately. They'll say a ceasefire, and they'll break it immediately. They lie all the time. Cool. This redneck guy keeps saying that, come on, you know the agreement, we violated it. If you do the research, we don't have any reason to believe that there was an agreement and that we violated it. That just is the case. That is just the truth. That is the facts. We don't have any information to believe that we violated any agreement. That's one thing. Next, talking about this is some immoral corporate war, that it's for some dumb reason. That also doesn't really make sense because, well, here's what Dylan was saying. I'm like, wait, do you think there can be moral wars? And he gets like, oh, we're gonna say there's moral wars. It's all subjective. I'm like, okay, but in your subjective view, can there be a moral war since you think this one isn't? Sorry, it's noise in the background. And of course, the dude Dylan says, well, I think World War II and the Civil War were moral. And he starts defending himself against some straw man accusation. He creates an insult for Dylan to be saying it. And he's saying, like, oh, you're going to try and say that I'm racist. You're going to try and say this. But Dylan didn't. He just, like, can we at least agree that wars were moral? And then this dude, he's, like, fighting some bully man, some liberal ghost that seems to be, like, he's like attacking Dylan by attacking different random liberal talking points that Dylan hasn't arguing. He just wants to establish that he thinks some wars are moral. Dylan wants to establish that this one's one of them. I think most people, he also agrees that World War II is moral and that Civil War was moral on the US's side. And I just want to say that, like, so even if there were corporate benefits and interest in a war, it doesn't mean it's an immoral war, that it's just a corporate warfare. And let's get more specific when I'm like, he's arguing that because the world was collapsing basically financially, especially different European countries, well, we create this war and there's some benefit from, like, assisting in this war helps these suffering countries. That's why this one's a corporate war. But World War II was one of the major factors that helped us recover from the Great Depression. Like, if we were the good guys in World War II fighting Nazis, like, our incentive to be the good guys happened to be that we had significant financial manufacturing institution. We also created a bunch of trade deals afterwards, a lot of super lucrative for us trade deals, at which different European nations were dependent on us to help them rebuild and restructure because all their infrastructure is gone. Like, we benefited well, we're not benefiting from this war. Besides, fuck you, Russia. That's our benefit. We've been benefiting significantly from World War II. The last time that most of us agree that we were the objective good guys. There's other times people might say so, but World War II was the last time we did say we were good guys. It was, corporate-wise, it was the best thing that can happen to us to join that war. It's what helped us. It's what helped us get out of depression. Again, we also waited a long time to join that war. We didn't even join immediately. So, like, our moral views there, I'm like, well, wait, why do we wait? Why do we wait multiple years until Europe was fucking destroyed to get involved? Until a point in which, if we helped earlier, maybe you could argue that maybe Europe wouldn't need as much assistance from the United States and wouldn't have all the sophistications to develop, basically making the United States the de facto power of the world. We let the continent get destroyed before we insisted in help. Another point. My argument is just that if you think World War II somehow was moral and not a good war, you cannot argue that by the same logic that this Ukrainian war isn't a moral war and that it is a corporate war. Like, you can't have it both ways. Last thing is that I want to there's a bunch of shit. Just watch these. Again, I'm gonna link the video. Please just, if you have an hour and you can tolerate the worst argumentative tactics by somebody ever, run redneq side, watch it. The last thing I wanted to just argue, like I said, it was so stupid. Like, everybody's saying that Ukraine's going to win this war. Like, Dylan, you've been arguing it this whole time, and why haven't they won it already? And then we're like, well, look, for one, Russia is a large power with a massive military and massive amounts of tools and supplies. Then this guy's arguing like, wait, you're saying they're incompetent. If they're incompetent, they would have lost. But you're saying that they have this big army. If you have a big army, you can win. He doesn't build that out that much. He kind of skips past it. So I don't know what he was talking. If he realized he was wrong in his head and then tried to move on. But I'm gonna stick to it because Dylan wasn't an asshole about it, and I'm gonna be an asshole about it. He's saying that we can't have it both ways by saying that Russia has a bigger, larger army and that was considered a great military force, but has proven themselves incompetent. Like the whole reason that this war is still ongoing is that Russia is so incompetent that they can't use their bigger military force to be a smaller military force in Ukraine. If they were competent with their larger force and more weapons and seemingly more experience, they should have won the war. Since they haven't, that's how we know they're incompetent. How do we know that they have a larger military force? Just what they're, I guess, where you see access to what they've reported. I mean, it's up to Russia to accurately report this stuff. But again, I don't trust Russia's wording. They definitely lied about how competent the military force was. But they also lied about, they might have lied about how the amount of access to weapons. We know we heard very early on they were using Soviet era tanks and different weapons or whatnot. We know people were dropping weapons. We know that they were using mercenary words too. Well, we hear that they were using mercenary. They couldn't draft normally like they would normally mobilize. They were mobilizing recently now, and a lot of people are leaving, but they had a lot of restrictions as a result of it being a special military operation instead of an actual war. So we know those things held them back. So best like that's the reason that competence aside that makes it harder for them to fight the war. Even with that, they still should have been able to beat Ukrainians. They just weren't competent. But like that's all I'm gonna say. That guy's a fucking dumbass. He's a fucking jackass. He's stupid. I normally don't get that objectively mean or rude to somebody who has a differing viewpoint, but I don't care that he has a different viewpoint. I care that he's stupid about how he has viewpoints. If you agree with me, but you're stupid about how you do it, then I don't agree with how you come to your conclusions. You have to be right about how, right? I think he's also wrong. I think that's true. But he's not using any reasonable way. Like I've listened to people that have made reasonable arguments that I disagree with on the other side. This guy's not one of them. All right, that's all. Third review for the day. Again, like we just saw, leave a like, do a subscribe. If you have any other political, social issues, for anything you want me to react to or talk about, send me a message or comment in the description. But that's all. I'm out.